Thanks, Paul. So, unfortunately for all of you, I'm from Perth and I'm a tragic Eagles fan as well. And we're deep in the fourth quarter of this conference, and like the Eagles, I think everybody's getting a little bit starting to lag and lose a bit of energy. So I'm gonna mix up my presentation. I don't normally run it like this, but I'm gonna try and share with you what I see with this opportunity, this asset that we picked up late last year for about $4 an ounce. So I'm going to start talking about the largest gold mine in the world. So Nevada Gold Mines produces 3.5 million ounces of gold per year. Why is this relevant? Why do we care? You're probably asking yourself. Well, it's our neighbour. So this is a cross-section that's about 5 kilometres across this way, and split straight down here on this side is Nevada Gold Mine's most profitable mine, the Phoenix Mine. So this mine here is our neighbour. These are our assets here. You've got 1 million ounces of gold down the bottom there at 6.67 grams a tonne, and then about 400,000 ounces of gold at 0.4 grams a tonne. Over there in Nevada, that's really high grade for heap leach. So the Nevada Gold Mine is operating currently at 0.32 grams a tonne with an all-in sustaining cost of $670 US an ounce. So they're making nearly 5 times profit. And they're actually, with heap leaching, you normally want to have oxide material. They're through all their oxide. They're into transitional material. They're currently, their metallurgical recoveries are 68%. We had a PEA done on our asset in 2022. Our metallurgical recoveries run at 79%. So the reason I want to talk to you about that is because what I see here for us is the opportunity to develop and hopefully become very similar to our neighbours, the largest and one of the most profitable gold mines in the world. So looking at that high grade component that we have, here on the screen that you're looking at now, this is our tenement outline here. Up here you've got the Nevada Phoenix Gold Mine pit. Down here in the purple is our skarn resource of just under 1 million ounces at 6.67 grams a tonne. Back in the 90s, the Phoenix Gold Mine up here produced 2.3 million ounces from the same host rock that our million ounces at 6.67 grams a tonne is hosted in. They produced at 6.68 grams a tonne, so nearly identical, with metallurgical recoveries of 92 to 96%. This mine, by the way, our neighbour, has been running for 40 years. They've produced nearly 9 million ounces of gold. They currently produce 250,000 ounces of gold a year, 15,000 tonnes of copper, 1 million ounces of silver. They're making $1.5 billion in revenue and over $1 billion in profit. They make money at any gold price. They've never ceased production. They've continually run at all gold prices. And that's really typical for Nevada as well. Actually, sorry, jumping back to this slide. So our resource here, one of our expansion opportunities, we've drilled an intercept up here that's also high grade, sitting outside of the resource. And because we know that they produced historically up here and it's all in the same host rock, we'll be targeting drilling all that out to increase our high grade resource. Jumping ahead to the surface mineralization that has a historic PEA, which is similar to a scoping study under JORC ruling. The highlighted section at the top here is the 400,000 ounces that sits within our pit. The people that we bought it off for $4 an ounce hadn't modelled it up properly. It was majority held by a private company that had a lack of funding, and they hadn't actually modelled up their resource. And when we pulled it across, we found that all of this here is actually proven mineralisation that sits outside of the resource that is not included in our current JORC resource. So we're going to be having another resource upgrade very soon with all that proven mineralisation. How does that look? Here's a 3D model here. Sitting within the pit here is our 400,000 ounces, and you can see underneath this massive amount all through here, which is significantly larger than our 400,000 ounces, is outside of that resource, and we'll be bringing that in shortly and upgrading our resource again. Just jumping up, another expansion opportunity within the project. Oh. So going to the surface, this hill that our resource sits next to, this is all within our property as well. This purple dot up here is an outcrop at surface at over 30 grams per tonne. There's multiple of them sitting up here, over 10 grams per tonne, and they've never drilled it for the sole reason they couldn't afford to put a road up there to get a drill rig up there. We're building a road up there now. This resource runs at 0.4 grams a tonne and has high-grade outcrops up to about 1 gram a tonne. The fact that we've got over 11 samples up that hill, over 11 grams a tonne, our geos are pretty confident that we're going to find some really interesting intercepts when we drill up there. So that's another expansion resource that's coming up. And I'm hedging my bet that they'll do pretty well out of it because right over here is where the high-grade mine was for Phoenix that operated in the 90s, right next door, directly abutting our property. So our drill plan, we mobilised last week. So the guys are out there now. They're setting up all the pads. The drill rig will be going out there shortly within the next week or two. And the historic drilling, if you were to take a look at it, it's everything here, all these grey dots. The hill has been completely missed, which I was pointing to before, close to about another, about 100% increase in size of what's been historically drilled. Our 2025 drill plan will be targeting that drilling there. Okay, well, what about permitting in the area? Sometimes I get the question about permitting in the US. Is there any difficulties? Because we're next door to the largest gold mine in the world, and it's a priority for Barrick and Newmont, who are the joint venture owners of it, to ensure that there is no hiccups in the area. They've actually completed what's called a plan of operations that our property sits within. So that plan of operations is essentially all of the environmental baseline surveys that are done for a mine to go into development and operations. It would typically take 24 months and as much as $5 million to complete. They've done that for us, so that's done. All we need to do is an environmental assessment. If we were to move forward with developing a mine, that would take about 8 to 12 months and cost somewhere between $50,000 to $100,000. In addition to that, in terms of infrastructure that we have, courtesy of Barrick and Newmont, over the last 40 years they've developed roads all the way to site and built a town called Battle Mountain, which is a 15-minute drive from where we are. And this is not a joke. We can actually Uber Eats to site. So there's a McDonald's and a Subway in town, and our geos have stood at site with Uber Eats and ordered and had a delivery. It's pretty common for the guys next door who are operating to Uber Eats their lunch. We also have power. We have power all the way to site, and we have full water rights if we were to go into operations. And as I mentioned, a foreign resource PEA, which is essentially one of the final stages for approving a mine. If we wanted to get that up and running, we're in the process of converting that to a JORC standard now. We could be operating within 8 to 12 months. So heap leach, is it any good? We think it's heaps good. Looking at some of the other mines in the area, I mentioned how profitable it is in the mine next door. Just over the hill, probably about 2 kilometres away, I've just circled there for you the SSR Marigold mine. They're producing at 0.17 grams per tonne at an all-in sustaining cost of $1,690 an ounce. Down here, the I-80 Ruby Hill mine, you don't need economies of scale to get these things up and running. They spent less than $30 million to get that up and running. They produce between 20,000 to 50,000 ounces a year. You can get it up and running pretty cheap, pretty low capex, and very low running costs. Part of the reason for that, people always get confused as to how are they making so much money at such low grade. You can essentially mine and process a ton of rock there for less than a cup of coffee. So our neighbours are mining and processing a ton of rock for about $5. Now the team, it's the same team that the founders of Sun Silver, which was the best performing IPO of 2024 last year. But who I want to draw your attention to is our recent appointment of Keith Wood. Now we don't have a Simon Lawson or a Steve Parsons on our board, but if you're in Nevada, Keith's just as good. So Keith was the chief growth geologist of NGM, the neighbouring mine, for 15 years and helped build that into the largest producing gold mine in the world. He's worked with Barrick for a total of 25 years. He's really well known and respected in the area. He really likes this asset. He thinks it has huge potential. He'll be guiding us in growing it going forward. Well, sounds expensive. How much is it? Well, this is our corporate structure. We've got 99 million shares on issue, no options. Last traded at 42 cents yesterday. gives us a market cap of 41 million with 7.3 million cash in the bank as of last quarter for an enterprise value of just over $30 million. How does that compare to others? This aqua ball out here is us. It's out here sitting all on its own because we're close to 7 grams a tonne, so it's one of the highest grade early stage developers on the ASX. And the size is our resource just of that high grade skarn. If we were to add in the 400,000 ounces at surface, it would take us a little closer up to here. Relative to peers, these are small blue balls. We're more mature than that. Fair bump, play on. They are some of our competitors. So you've got Gorilla Gold, Far East Gold, New Murchison Gold. You can see that the grade is quite exceptional. The size of the resource is quite exceptional. And if we were to add in that resource that's sitting outside of our 400,000 ounces, that'll move us up again. If we're successful with the drill campaign, that'll move us up again. Actually, one thing I forgot. I'm going to go all the way back to the beginning here. So this cross section, which highlights the bottom extent of our mineralisation, the only reason why that finishes there is because that's where they stop drilling. Every single one of those drill holes nearly is open at the bottom, and it's a direct feeder from this skarn in this system here. And all of these diamond holes that have drilled out this deposit, none of them have been assayed in the middle, and the team are out there and they can see visual mineralisation in there. So we're getting those assayed. So there's actually an opportunity here that we think that we're going to find that sections of this zone here will actually be mineralised as well, which will also add to our resource. So what can you expect from us this year? We're going to have multiple resource growth levels from the surface mineralisation that sits outside the resource, skarn mineralisation, which we'll be drilling at depth, the historic cores, which we'll be assaying. Then, in addition to that, our extensional drilling at surface, up the hill, targeting those high-grade outcrops. We're advancing permitting for our heap leach project, conducting met testing work on that skarn mineralisation because it hasn't been assayed before. That's that mineralisation that sits in the same host rock as the neighbour that used to produce at over 90% recoveries. And we're also furthering the scoping study, which was completed on a foreign resource estimate PEA, using the same people, KCA, who are the foremost experts over in Nevada for heap leach developments. So currently we've got a 1.4 million ounce gold resource that's JORC compliant with advanced heap leach permitting, nearly 1 million ounces of gold at 6.67 grams per tonne, significant near-term growth potential, Tier 1 jurisdiction, neighbouring the biggest gold mine in the world and one of the most profitable, with an existing foreign PEA which has positive economics on it, a mine that could be permittable within 8 to 12 months, full water, power, roads, and 15 minutes drive to town. And if anyone has any questions, I'll be over at the booth and happy to have a chat. Thank you very much.